We all on? We lost Zach. Okay, there's Zach. Hi everybody. Thanks for joining us. I guess we just decided about the non-cameras for we should tell you that Matan is videotaping this and streaming it on YouTube, and it just seemed like it would be a little easier. So we are happy that you're here. I didn't mean to start off with something negative, but welcome. My name is Viveca, and I'm one of the directors of the IJA Championships.
And I'm NeilFred. I'm the other director of the IJA Championships. And yeah, we excited to have people interested in learning more about it. So I guess let's jump in.
Let's let the other people whose videos are on introduce themselves, and then we'll talk about what we had planned for this Zoom, which we expect to take less than an hour.
I'm David Kane. I've been a frequent competitor and judge. Started competing in 1985. And so I've competed many, many times in juniors and teams and individuals, and I've judged many times as well.
Go ahead, Zach.
My name is Zach McAllister, and I've competed twice, and I won the individuals and teams in 2019. And I like just watching the competition every year.
And Zach also was a horrible here. Echo, and my AirPods were in my juggling bag that got stolen, so I'm going to try to deal with it. Zach was also a judge last year, I was going to say, so he's been on both sides of that table.
Yeah, and I'm Kayla Malmgren. I've competed in teams twice, once in 2019 and once in this past year in 2023.
Thank you. And I can't remember if David said that did you say you've been a judge many times and a prelims judge? And we're very grateful for that. So we had, and I can see some of your names. I know some of you, it feels very odd not being able to see you, but we're happy that you're here. And our plan for today was just to talk a little bit about the championships, about where you can find the information that would help you if you are considering competing in champs. We're not going to go through all of that information. We're going to just sort of direct you and show you where it is and make those resources more available. We have reorganized some of parts of the IJA website and on purpose, and some parts just seem to keep getting reorganized. And so we just want to make sure that you can find that and stay abreast of that information. We wanted to put our faces out there so that you can contact us. Our emails are on the IJA website, and we'll talk about where you can reach us for that too. So we're going to go through that. We're going to invite our panelists to talk a little bit about their experience as competitors and as judges, and then we were going to open it up to questions. And I understand that some questions have already been submitted through the Google form. And I guess if people have questions while we're talking, do we want them to just, I would say, type it in the chat? And so if it's something that would let us know, and if it's an emergency, unmute, probably. Anything else, NeilFred, or should we go to screen share?
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen because, Afton, would you please allow me to share my screen? So the host has disabled participant screen sharing. We're all still participants too, so we're figuring out the Zoom.
Yeah, or Afton,
nope, but I'll screen share for you.
Okay, great. That's perfect. That was the other option. So would you, we were just going to go on to juggle.org. And so at the top here, this is the IJA website. This is juggle.org. There are other websites that pop up throughout the year and give festival information and other information, but this is a permanent year-round website of the organization. And once festival information is there, it'll be in the first tab, and you will be able to see more about this year. But for now and year-round, you can go to programs, and the IJA Juggling Championships, don't click on that yet, though, just stay right here if you don't mind, are a program of the IJA. And next to that, you can see the IJA regional competitions, which are championships just like this that the IJA conducts all around the world using the same scoring system, the same scoring criteria, and eventually those may merge into some kind of World Cup of juggling, but we're trying to standardize this everywhere and keep this information available for everybody. So let's go into it. And so when you hover on this, you can see that we have a few things listed here. The first, should we go through all of these, NeilFred, or should we just talk about what's here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Let's go to the overview just because it's an overview.
Okay, yeah.
I think it links to the other things as well, but you can also go directly to them from those other links.
So back where we were on programs, IJA Juggling Championships.
With the overview, it's going to bring you to the festival website, which will then redirect you back to the rules.
Okay, so the overview does give a brief introduction to the championships. And once registration opens for people applying to compete, it'll be linked there and it'll have some of this year's information. And so that's linked very much to the festival. IJA Juggling Championships medalists includes a history, and we just got this sorted out a little bit better. So it has all of our previous medalists. And then for the last 10 years, maybe, since NeilFred's really been doing this, it doesn't just have the medalists, it has all the competitors and all of the scores by category there. So there's a lot of historical information here. And for people who enjoy our favorite pastime each year of debating the competitions after they happen, you can find out what the judges thought and how people scored in different categories. And what those categories are is the next part here, which is the rules. And we're actually going to go into the rules in a little bit. So can we go back for a second? So let's just do the overview of the other two here. The IJA music policy. All performers in the IJA, I think Afton can correct me if I'm wrong on this, the IJA has a standardized music policy for everybody who is appearing on stage throughout the IJA. And so we do get questions throughout the year about what kind of music people are allowed to use. And that is published here. So it's available for everybody. And this championships entry form goes live usually when registration does for entry. So this is a lot of sort of the logistics of what you need. Does my music work for this? How would I apply is all right here, but we're going to dig into the rules a little bit. NeilFred, do you have anything to say about any of these other categories? I mean, no, I'm sorry, menu items, not categories.
No, yeah.
Okay. And so let's go into the rules, and I may let NeilFred take the lead here.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, this there's a whole lot of details. You know, of course, it's great if you go through and read it all, but really the sort of most important things, if you scroll down just a little bit, the okay.
Actually,
so
let's stop on the languages. No.
Oh yeah, sure.
Is just to say, we have asked volunteers. Volunteers have helped us to translate this page into many languages. And when you click on one of these, you can view this page in these languages. We try to keep it up to date. If you speak English, or more relevantly, read and write English and one of these languages, we are always looking for volunteer translators. But the way the page works, it will translate into one of these languages. And you can expand, and you cannot link directly to sections, but you can expand and contract the sections you need, and they should appear in different languages. Now you do content.
All right, awesome. Yes, so, okay. Yes, the general information, as it says, general information, just kind of gives a high-level overview. Information for competitors, you know, certainly if you're interested in competing, you'll want to read all of these sections. In particular, the applying to compete will go into the details.
Afton, would you just click on one so they can see that these open up with more details? Thank you.
Yes, and so the key thing to highlight here is the way it all works is you will submit a video as your a video of the routine that you plan to compete with. And that gets judged for our preliminary round of judging. And so then based on the prelims, we then select who actually goes to the finals, and that's, you know, what we actually see at the show during the festival. So yes, so the key thing there is you need to, you know, have it all prepped some time ahead of in advance, you know, and videoed, yes, so then you upload it either to YouTube or Vimeo, and then complete this entry form that includes providing the link as well as some other info. Yeah.
I'm just seeing that was still last year's information, but we will update it when we open registration.
Yes. The awards, like, has the, you know, the actual cash prizes and so on. These again are from last year, but possibly we're expecting to be the same. I don't know of any.
I think we're expecting
They're
this.
the same.
Yeah.
Great. All right. And yeah, I forget what eligibility actually.
Eligibility,
like,
I think, is that you need
there's
to
not
be a
much
member, and to compete in juniors, you
Remember.
need to be under 18 at the time of juniors.
Yes. So yes.
Oh, and actually, this is key, is that special guests of the festival, if they're being compensated for appearing at the festival, are not eligible to compete in championships that year, on the basis of that giving an unfair financial advantage to some people.
Right.
However, if you do qualify to compete in the finals, individual and juniors competitors, we do provide a full festival package. And for teams, we provide that for up to 4 members of the team.
Yes, and actually, while we're on that subject, one of the questions that had been submitted was, can we also apply for the festival scholarship along with entering the competition? And the answer to that is yes. Unlike, you know, invited guests to the festival that are performing in the show or teaching special workshops and so on, those are the people that are not allowed to also enter the competition. But the scholarships explicitly are separate from that.
And actually, we had an issue last year, people who are receiving festival packages because of various, I think it's people who are compensated for performing, because we had somebody who was compensated for doing other work that was work. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, we can address we do take questions year round, and we can address specific, you know, eligibility questions if they go on.
Specific scenarios or whatever.
Sorry?
Yeah. If people have particular scenarios, you know, reach out and we can address those offline. Oh, and then the other related question that was asked was, we'll get to this in a minute. The performers also can have like an assist, you know, a person who's helping them or whatever. So who can come. Those people also get festival package. No, just the competitor themselves. Okay, so moving on. All right, yeah, let's go ahead and expand rules for competitors. Yeah, so I mean, really all of this is rules for competitors, but this section is kind of like highlighting the stuff that as a competitor, you know, particularly should be paying attention to. The minimum and maximum time, all routines need to be at least 5 minutes, and for juniors, they have to be under 7 minutes, and for individuals and teams under 8 minutes. And, you know, there are penalties for going under or overtime. Further down is the details of the particular score, how the scoring works and so on. But just, you know, as a general tip, don't plan for your routine. Like if, you know, the maximum is 8 minutes, don't plan for your routine to be, you know, 7 minutes and 58 seconds. Even if it's timed to music and you know you're going to be exactly on, like, leave more buffer than that is probably a good idea just to be safe. So
you know, it's funny, just as you were talking, NeilFred, it just makes me realize there's something that we should probably say to this, is that NeilFred and I are both volunteers and members and jugglers, and we do this because we want to encourage better juggling performances, and we want to watch good juggling performances, and we want to make a good show for our fellow members and for the general public. And so everything that we do, I mean, I think we're both former judges, but we're not judging. We're trying to help. Like, we're trying to give you good routines. And so when he's giving you advice about, how long to try to figure out to make your routine, we wanted to do this because we want more people to come up with great routines that are going to do really well.
Yeah.
So let's get out of rules for competitors and go down. I said we weren't going to go through every single rule. We're just looking at this. So prelim, but we can open them up for a second and give the kind of idea. So prelims, these are really specifics about what to do to make your video. So the application process is that you send us a video. There is a registration fee. There is a little form that you fill out so that we have some information about you so that we can start promoting you the moment that you get passed through to finals. But most of this is about making sure that your act, it's about seeing your act and about being able to see it. Like, don't send us a portrait video on your phone because we can't see it. Don't send one that your props are the same color. And also just making sure that your act is something that you can do in competition. So we do expect it to be the same thing as what you're going to compete with. It does need to be a single camera, unedited video. It doesn't need to be exactly the same thing. We understand that we are asking that there are some people who compete with routines that they are performing professionally, every single, 8 shows a week, and they're going to do it the same way every time. But there are a lot of people, I would say probably the majority of our competitors, put together a routine for this event. And we understand that we're asking people to, if they're putting that together, that they have to send it to us 2 months before the festival. We've been playing with the timing, but it is probably going to be about 2 months before the festival. And so we want to see what it is, but if it can continue to improve between the time that you hand in the video and the time that you're on stage in the finals, that's great. We encourage that. We're not trying to freeze the act then. We just need to see the substance of what you are attempting to do.
Yeah, people often get hung up on this question of like, does it have to be like trick for trick identical? No, it's just like, it has to feel like it's the same act.
Yeah.
It's kind of the intuition.
And even on stage, like even once you're on stage in finals, if it's feeling great, you can go for something harder. If it's feeling iffy, you can pull a trick, so we're trying to give competitors the most flexibility. So there are things here about the music. This is another link to the IJA music policy. Disqualification is if you're doing something really dangerous or that is against the spirit of the IJA. But the scoring here, this is what our judges are looking for, is this section here on scoring categories.
Yeah, so we've iterated on this over the years, but this is what it currently is. We have these 5 categories: juggling difficulty, juggling creativity, juggling execution. They have the word juggling in the name of the category because that's all it is considering. It's the difficulty of the juggling, not difficulty of anything else. Creativity of the juggling, not of anything else, etc. Execution is, of course, drops are poor execution. So it's but it's not just about drops. It's sort of just in general what you were trying to do. Did you do it? And then the last 2 are entertainment value and presentation. And so, these are more sort of about the performance aspects. And so all of the details of these, but we're not gonna go into it in detail here.
There is one I'm sure you see it while we're talking through. There is one special requirement for teams, which is that they need to be a team, not like a juggler with other people on stage.
Or and not like an act where okay, one person does a ball routine and then somebody else does a ring routine. Like, that's not a team act. That's 2 acts, right? And so it should feel like a team act.
Yeah. Drops. So timing drops. There's no specific penalty for drops. We inform the judges of how many drops there were in a routine, and the judges are allowed to use this information as they wish. They're allowed to not use it at all. It is up to them to decide how much the judges affect the performance. Frankly, we provide this information because before we would have 7, every time a juggler dropped, all 7 judges would look down at their note paper to mark down the drop, and then they wouldn't see whatever happened for the next few seconds. And so we told the judges to stop counting drops, and they wanted to know what was happening. So we give them the information, but it's up to them what they do with it. Timing, we don't even give that information to the judges. We decide, and we have timers who keep track of how long the routines go. And then we apply penalty for routines that run short or long, as NeilFred was saying before. And if you stay in that sweet spot of 5 to 7 minutes for juniors or 5 to 8 minutes for individuals or teams, this never affects you at all. And you get all of the points that you earn.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything important in that last scoring rules?
I don't remember what's in scoring rules.
Oh, right. So this is just, yeah, in each of the categories, the judges are scoring on a scale from 0 to 10. And this is kind of to give a sense of like, yeah, what is a 7 versus an 8? Well, you know, very good versus excellent maybe feels a little more intuitive. So that's what this is kind of describing.
And if you have seen any of the past, the competitions from the past, I think it's 10 years now, maybe even more, maybe since 2012. If you've seen them, if you're interested, go onto that list of previous medalists and you can see how the different competitors rated in each of these categories. You know, you can see, oh, this person got a 7 for presentation, and they'll give you a sense of how people are getting scored and what those scores mean.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and of course, if you go on the website to years further in the past, you'll see that the list of categories was actually different, and some of the categories had different weights and so on. Currently, it's just these 5 categories. Last few years has been these 5 categories, and they're all weighted the same. So you know, if you do really well in difficulty, but you have a lot of drops, so your execution score is low, versus you do, you know, the other way around, the easier tricks, so the execution is really strong but less difficulty, like those 2 categories, you know, trade off of each other, but yeah, at the end of the day, they're both counted equally in the final score.
Yeah. So the last section was about the competition aspect and how this was, what our categories are, what the scoring is for those categories. This section here, performance requirements, is that this isn't just a competition, it's also a show. So, and it's a show, because it's both a show and a competition, we have things like each act gets the exact same amount of rehearsal time. Each act is allowed the same number of helpers backstage. Each act has to be able to get all of their props onto stage and set up in the same amount of time, and they have to be able to strike all of their equipment in the same amount of time. So these are sort of, you know, we do get a fair number of questions during the year, and people ask us, well, will I be able to plug in? Will I be able to run my own music? Will I be able to run my own effects? You know, if I have light up clubs, will I be able to set all this up? And a lot of these questions are answered here. And if they're not, ask us about it and we'll figure it out. We do also provide usually one volunteer backstage to help out, in addition to anybody that you want to bring. Not anybody that you want to bring that fits into these requirements of not more than 2 people. And our volunteers are usually jugglers, and they're often pretty good jugglers. So if you need something thrown to you during the show, for example, they are usually able to do that. But you can also bring a friend from the festival and have them do it, so that you can practice with your own person and feel confident with that. We tried to separate out information from competitors for information from judges, because, you know, if you can, read the whole thing. But this is here you can see what the judges are looking for, you know, and well, no, actually, this part is about how we choose the judges also, and what the role of the judges are, as well as what they're looking for. So if you've ever thought, oh, why is that person a judge? Or is that person going to be fair? Or is that person going to do this? This is sort of how we make the panel. If you're interested in being a judge, you can contact us also, besides being interested in being a competitor, but this is how we do that.
One other thing I just wanted to call out that also is goes into a little more detail in that section, judging guidelines, is that the judges are instructed to not compare this competitor versus that competitor. You're each evaluating each competitor on this absolute scale of, you know, like I said, the, you know, 7 means very good in that category and so on. And so, yeah, we try to think of it at, you know, obviously, like at the end of the day, there is some amount of like, well, this seemed better than that other one in that regard. You know, how did I score that? So I make sure that I score accordingly and so on. But like, we try to think of it in just in isolation.
Yeah, in absolute terms instead of relative terms. And then again, this is also about other things, like we have had people say, oh, we knew this act was going to be good because you put them last. We knew this act, and so again, we try to be really transparent about this. And a lot of the time we put an act last because we didn't want two Diablo acts next to each other, or because we needed to be able to clean the stage after something. And we really do try to be fair to the acts, but there are a lot of technical and non-competition aspects of creating a show that determine things like the order and the tech that aren't about hinting or placing people because we're predicting anything we don't predict. And and our preliminary results do not always turn into the finals results. So we have learned not to predict also. And then Afton, would you hit on number 4, please? Because this is where I promised that you can contact the competition director. So this email right here, IJA Championships, plural, @juggle.org. This email will send, if you send anything to this email, it will go to NeilFred and to me and to, I think, Martin and maybe Ross, but it will definitely go to the two of us and possibly a bunch of other people. And we do answer emails all year throughout the year. I think that was what we wanted to walk through. So do we want to take questions about that, or do we want to ask our thank you, Afton.
Let's go to the panelists and then we'll do questions after that.
Yeah. So we wanted to just ask you guys to talk a little bit about your experience or what advice you would give to potential competitors. Should we call on people? Well, you know what? In my Zoom screen, we went this way last time, so we're going to go this way this time. So Kayla's starting, if that's okay.
I can start. Absolutely. Well, again, I'm Kayla Malmgren. I am 21 and I have competed twice, both in teams. So I do not have experience in any solo competitions, just the group competitions and teams. And my experience has been really amazing with the IJA teams competition. It's one of my favorite things to do in general. And I just love it. And I did not know you were volunteers, NeilFred and Viveca. So thank you for volunteering your time. It's awesome. And my biggest advice for someone who is thinking about competing is, especially in teams, is to build a camaraderie with your group. I think in time, so I come from Jugheads. That's my background. If you've heard of Jugheads, it was a youth juggling organization in the Twin Cities. And so there have been multiple teams. And what I've learned from other teams who didn't have as great of a camaraderie as I felt I did with my teams that I've competed with is that it definitely affects how the competition goes. Maybe that's also just a high school thing, but my recommendation would be to bond with your teammates on a level that's not just juggling. It's a lot of fun, and chances are good if you're competing together, you're already friends potentially. So that just building that bond and taking time in between practices to just take a break and hang out with each other and not just go off in your corners. But yeah, that's my greatest advice, is have fun with it. It's such a fun experience. I'm a little biased because I've only done teams. I think teams is the best division because it's just so fun to compete as a group and have that camaraderie no matter what the results are. So I highly recommend teams, guys.
I just realized that all 3 of you have competed as teams, actually. Thank you, Kayla. So on my screen, we go to Zach. Okay. Yep, you got it.
Okay. My experience with competing has always been positive. And I look forward to that show more than any other show at the IJA. I always enjoy it the most because there's always a feeling of like, even though you're watching people compete, it's always fun. Like everyone who's on stage is probably friends with each other. And that was my experience also competing, is I never felt like stressed that someone else was like gonna try and like sabotage my routine or something. No one does that at the IJA. It's more like it's a fun competition. And of course people take it seriously, but it's a nice environment. And the people who run it are doing it professionally and they take it seriously. So the people who need to take it seriously are taking it seriously. And something Kaylin said that really I would definitely agree with is just have a lot of fun with it. If you're having fun, then the audience is having fun. Yeah, it's a great experience if you just go for it. You take that jump. Yeah, in my experience with both teams and individuals, I think if you want to compete, I would definitely be. I wouldn't. I don't know how else to phrase this, but like if you're competing with people, I would just say like become friends with them. Don't just think like, oh, I can't talk to these people because I'm competing with them, or like there's like some weird invisible wall. I would just treat it like a show, and the competition thing is kind of there as well, but try and have as much fun with it as possible. Yeah, that's mainly what I would have to say.
Thanks, Zach. David?
Hi. Well, I competed in juniors twice, individuals twice, teams 5 or 6 times, and even intermediates back when we had intermediates. In fact, I've been the reigning intermediates champion for the last 25 years or so. So I would say, well, first of all, you're never going to find a more supportive audience than during the championships. So that is a great thing about the organization, about the community as a whole. So that's a good thing. I would read the rules very carefully so that you know what, so that you create an act that's going to score well. You know, if you're taking the championships very seriously, then create an act geared toward the championships. I would also figure out very early exactly what you want to do. Video your act, run through it as many times as you can, and watch yourself, critique yourself, get some juggling friends to help critique the act. If you want to get a coach, whether it's formal or informal, that can help you as well. But we've got decades and decades of acts you can look at and see what acts did well and what acts didn't. And so there are lots of resources in all of that that can really help you if you prepare well. So I think those are some of the things I'd really recommend. Really reading the rules carefully, settling early on what you want to do, practicing a ton, videotaping, critiquing yourself, getting other, fine-tuning it over time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all. I want to, I do see some questions coming up in the chat. I do know we have some questions from the form. And I am going to flag that we have a Kayla and a Kaylin on the call. I don't know if I misheard somebody's name before, but separate names. I just wanted to highlight two of the things that these guys said. When Zach was talking about, we do take this really seriously, and I'm so glad to hear you guys say how fun it is and how supportive it is, because I think some people are intimidated out of competing, and I hope that we can make this as supportive as possible. It's definitely the best audience you will ever have as a juggler. And we've had, we were talking before about how competitors are allowed to have 2 people helping them backstage, up to 2 people. We prefer, you know, if you need to. And we have actually had competitors having other competitors be their one person. That's how supportive things are backstage. And so I wanted to say that to what Zach was saying and to what David was saying. When he's saying videotape yourself, I support everything David's saying, but I'm going to take it a step further. I think the strongest thing you can do is actually to start performing your act in front of other people, not just videotaping it, not just getting coaching. I know that's not always possible for everybody, but performing is a really different skill from juggling. Actually, creating a routine is one skill, performing a routine is a different skill, and juggling is a different skill. And practicing all three of those things, I think, will serve you really well in the competitions. NeilFred, do you have anything to add, or you want to go to the questions in the chat?
Yeah, no, let's go to the chat.
Okay. So the first question I see is, are competitors allowed to get feedback / advice from judges about their acts after performing? And the answer to this is 99% absolutely. When I was a judge, I was judging because I had a lot to say and I was feeling judgment. And I really wanted to, I mean, I felt like I was bursting with feedback. Like I really wanted to tell people, you were so close if you'd done this, or, oh, I was hoping, or I wanted you to do that. So, and most of the judges feel the same way. They feel really, 2 out of 3 of you are former, well, I guess 4 out of 5 of us are former judges. I would not be surprised to see Kayla on the other side of that table soon, and want to give feedback. And the only reason I said 99 instead of 100 is that when we publish the scores, we publish the scores by judge, but we don't say which judge is which. We say judge number 1, judge number 2, judge number 3. And so we ask the judges we do ask the judges to make themselves available to competitors and to give feedback, not because they're judges, but because they're judges, because we believe that they have interesting things to say. But we do ask them to do that in a way that doesn't unblind themselves or the other judges. So they're not going to say, I gave you a 7 on this because, but who cares? They're going to say, I thought you were excellent at this because, and I thought you could use some work on that because. So yes, that is something we actually ask the judges to be available to that, both at the festival and after the festival. What's our next question? How to help with things besides necessarily judging, timer, counter, stagehand type of thing? Just email. Somebody is asking about volunteering. That's Kaylin. Great. Yeah, if you are willing. So there are a few ways that people volunteer for staffing besides judging. We do have a staff for this event. We have drop counters, we have timers, we have a competitor liaison. Sometimes we've had 2 backstage. We've had roustabouts, stage managers. Like we need help at this event. And sometimes we go through the IJA volunteer coordinator. If you're interested in volunteering in championships in particular, please email us, IJAchampionships@juggle.org. Yeah, that would be great. We appreciate it. Thank you for your help.
All right, should we take some of the questions from the forum?
Yeah.
So, okay, first was likelihood of a juniors at this coming IJA. And the answer is we never know, right? The fact that there was no juniors division last year was not because we decided not to, it was because nobody entered. And, so we really want there to be, we always really want there to be a lot of juniors and a lot of teams. And there often are not very many. So.
One thing that we should tell people is that this year's championships is going to be on Wednesday, which is it has not been on a Wednesday in quite a while, and we are expecting to do all 3 divisions, juniors teams and individuals, in the same night in a combined show. That's the way we've been doing it for the last few years. Last year there was no juniors, which we were sad about. The year before that, there was no teams. There was no teams division because we only had 1 entrant, and 1 entrant doesn't make a competition. So we do require there to be a competition. In order to host a competition, we need to have at least 2 competitors. But we hope that we will have, we used to hold the event over the course of different nights, and we've tried different formats. We've tried having all the individuals and then all the teams, in sort of more head-to-head. But these days we do a combined show. We think it's better for the audience. We think it's better for the competitors. And we hope that we will have a robust competition in all 3 divisions. we hope there will be the maximum number of people that we can manage to tech in one day, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The next question was, can we have a stage manager calling cues from backstage? I guess meaning like somebody familiar with the act ahead of time calling some cues related.
I'm not sure I understand the question. We do have a production stage manager so we offer during our rehearsal time that day, each act gets the same amount of time, usually 20 minutes. And the way we spend that time is first they talk through their sound and light cues with our professional production stage manager. Then while she is working with the light board and programming cues, they talk through their prop cues with our volunteer stagehands, meaning if they have anything preset, if they need anything thrown to them during the act, then they usually get a chance to run it one time on stage. We try to run the act through all the way, but it's a very tight rehearsal schedule. And then if there's any extra time left in their time, they can go through any particular cues. Like, could I just run that ending again? Because I want to try, my 7 rings, I had a light right in my face. I want to try seeing it somewhere else, or I want to try changing this light. So we do run through all technical cues in our rehearsal on that day. If you mean, do you want to bring somebody of your own to call cues for you or for sound or lights? I don't think we would have somebody, I don't think that you can have somebody sitting in the booth with our production stage manager, with our lighting engineer, with our sound person, but can you have somebody backstage? You can have up to 2 people with you backstage, and it's up to you how you use them. If they stay out of the house crew and out of our volunteer crew's way, if they're helpful to you, sure. The example I can think of is that last year, if you were at last year's competition, we had a team that had a very programmed clubs, like the vision clubs, and they had to light up and do a lot of cues, and they ran their own. They emailed us in advance about their needs and about their technical requirements, and we set up a cable patch for them backstage, and they ran their own sound because it was synced to their own light up clubs, and they did that themselves from the side of the stage. So there's nothing, you don't have to use our people. If there's a way that we can accommodate you, we will try to do that. You only get to use the same number of people as other people, but what you use them for, it's up to you, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers the question. If it doesn't, you can go in the chat, or we'll let you unmute yourself or something, whoever asks.
Yeah. And, or yeah, more generally, I think high level, if you have special needs, let us know. And we want to accommodate. We want to keep things fair, but we also do want to accommodate your needs. And so, let us know, and we can probably figure something out. Then, also, I guess on the technical side of things, tech theater side of things, when will we be informed of the light hang, and can we request specials?
Oh, so yeah, we get a standard tech theater lighting package that comes with our rental. We have the production stage manager we've been hiring for the last few years. We hire for the entire festival. So she does the light hang at the beginning of the week usually, and then sets a few. She's actually getting, she was already good and is getting better and better at knowing what the IJA needs, but we're not going to have, unlimited flexibility. We're not going to have moving lights most of the time. It's a pretty standard hang. We're getting good at knowing things like that we need more side light and more backlight than theater does, and that we're accommodating jugglers. If you have particular lighting needs, you can absolutely send them to us in advance. We can see what we can do. We do send our production stage manager all of the videos in advance. She sees the costume, she sees how high the throws are, and she comes up with a tentative plan and a proposal, because we do have a lot of jugglers who don't know anything or have never got into work in that kind of theater, who have worked in gyms or have worked on school stages or libraries and have never worked with those kind of things. And so she's comes with a proposal, but we've also had jugglers who've come and said, here are my light cues, and handed them over. So that is something that you can send to us. We will get the theater tech. I don't know actually if I think Ross is show director, if he already has the theater tech package, but we do get that in advance, and we can take lighting cues in advance. And we do what we can, we do what we can.
All right, then we had when does registration open for next year, and when is the deadline? I don't think we know yet.
Festival registration will be opening on Friday, November 24th at noon Eastern time.
Okay, and are we opening champs registration at the same time? I guess we probably usually do them at the same time. So yeah.
There have been time. Yeah, I'm not expecting any further rule changes or anything. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If you're actually, you know what? Speaking of timing, I will say this. If we're opening applications in November, you don't need to apply in November, but please, please, please don't wait till the deadline. We get something like, I don't know, some years we get 50 to 75% of our videos within the last 24 hours when it's been open for a month, 2 months, 6 months. And I'm not saying this for our sake. Like, I don't care. I'll sit and watch all the videos. I love it. But I've gotten videos an hour before the deadline that I have to disqualify. And it's heartbreaking to come back to somebody and say, your video doesn't meet our requirements because of this, whatever it is. And I've had them say, oh, let me just, and people who have sent in those videos a month in advance, I watch them as soon as I can, as soon as I get them. And I will write people back and say, I can accept this video, but you're coming in 30 seconds short, or you're cutting to a different camera. This is going to be disqualified. And in one case, there are a few cases where I know they're not cutting away to hide a drop, but you can't cut away and just take another video. I don't care if the quality of the video isn't as good or if you have another job. Just don't get disqualified because you didn't have enough time to make a new video. So send in your video early, and if there's anything we can do to help you make it over that deadline, we will do that.
Yeah. But yes, we do generally, we occasionally get people asking, oh, can I submit, afterwards? And we're like, well, no, we have to be fair again. And so generally no exceptions on these things.
Oh, and we've also had some issues with if you are not in the United States or in some countries that have the same finance partner set up, we've had some issues with the payment and the registration not going through in time. And our IJA registrar bent over backwards last year, really phenomenal efforts to help people out with that. But again, if you can get it in before the deadline, it allows us to try to help you with any kind of technical or technical issue. Yeah. Related to the registration, related to the video, related to anything. We're not going to, help you out. So.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. Same as my comment about, don't plan for your routine to be 2 seconds under the limit. Like, yeah, don't leave a buffer for all possible failure modes.
There's a question that just came in about if you buy a competition package and then if you buy a festival registration package before finding out if you made it to finals. And if you, that is absolutely the way to go. Get the early bird discount, register for the festival, commit to coming to the festival. If you make it into finals, we will the IJA will reimburse you using your original payment method for whatever amount you paid. So, if you got there, but there's no reason not to get the best prices by registering early. So go ahead and do that, and we'll let you know.
Yeah. And then also as far as the deadline, I assume sometime in May, right? That's when we've generally.
I think we said May 15th again would be the deadline. We usually, I think our deadline for getting the videos in is by May 15th. We will respond to everybody who submits a video by, I think it's June 15th. Usually the videos are due 2 months before the competition. We tell you within a month. So you'll still have another month before the festival to keep working on your routine. We need that time. We need to go through all the videos to make sure that they meet the requirements. We need to give the prelims judges time to review them. We need to get them into the scoring system. Sometimes we can get them back a little bit faster, but we don't like to rush the prelims judges. So usually it's a month. And is there a limit to re-recording? You can submit one video. If there's a problem with that, you know what? Let me say this a different way. I'm not sure, Kaylin, what you're asking, but if there's a problem with your video, you can send in another video. And actually, how about this? This might answer your question. We're not going to send those videos to the prelims judges until applications close. So we had thought about doing rolling applications, but we weren't able to work it out technically for various reasons. So if you submit a video through competition, and then a week later, you decide you got a better video, go ahead and replace the first video. We're fine with that. We want you to have the best video you have. So that window closes when applications close. But if you want to just get one in to make sure you've got one in and then you manage to replace it with a better one, that's totally fine. I hope that answered your question. Do you have more questions, NeilFred?
There was a question about music rights, but I don't understand what it says. Music right. There is a permission for recording right form link broken, but will that also be for live performance? But the short answer is yes. The music policy that we showed the link on the website. If there's a link that's broken there, we can try and get that resolved. But yes, the music policy applies to all of the live performances at the festival. And yeah, it does have to do with having to have rights not only for live performance, but also for the fact that we then take these videos and we, basically everything that happens at the festival, like the IJA has people that are shooting video and IJA owns the copyright to whatever video we are shooting at the festival, and we want to be able to distribute those. And so that's why from a copyright perspective, it's not just the live performance rights that we need to have through the thing that IJA does to have rights to music. It also needs to allow for
broadcast.
Broadcast, yes.
For broadcast, yeah. We did have, and that's another thing with the re-recording the videos. Last year, actually, at least twice I can think of in the last few years, we've had competitors submit the videos with music that was not acceptable when the act was acceptable. So this year we had a competitor apply, and they emailed us. They told us and said, I can't get, we have two pieces of music and we can't get the rights to one of them. It's on a European license. It's not on this ASCAP or whatever we needed. And if we get in, we will re-choreograph it and we will replace our music, but can we apply with this now? And we said, sure. And there was another one where it was, they sent in the music and I said, we can't actually have 13 F-bombs in 3.5 minutes. And so they, in that case, they edited their own music to just gap it out. So we do request, we weren't going to we're not disqualifying the video over that, but we can't play that at this particular show. Do you have more questions in there? Do we have more questions from the chat, or do we have more comments from the panelists, or should we wrap up? We're at an hour. How can we help promote? Oh, you are the best. Your questions are the questions that we like. How can we help promote, advertise to get more competitors? Yeah. Talk it up.
Spread the word. Spread
the word. Apply. Promote. I think that's, I don't know if that was magic or social media fingers that Zach's doing. Zach doesn't know either. That's okay. Yeah, I wish we knew. Matan had made a great video a few years ago. We've been trying to put it out. We're trying to promote it. We actually did a Zoom, not a Zoom. We did a workshop at the festival a few times, at least once. We had like 50 people, like it was huge, and we just hadn't thought of it and hadn't been doing it again. Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you. So there's some an email so we can share things. And actually, I guess the way to promote it is also if you get it, your picture, and we put out your bio, but the more videos you put out and the more people get into juggling, the more people get into juggling, and it all helps itself. I wish I had a better answer to that. And I don't know if Matan or Afton has more to add to that. I don't know. David does.
No, well, I have a question. Are we doing much to try to get IRC winners or participants to come to IJA?
We have, I think Aaron's original plan with the IRCs was to have like the winners be, brought, have the IJA bring them to a subsequent festival, either just as invited guests to perform or to compete there or whatever. But it often wound up being problematic to get the visas to come to the United States. And so that's part of the difficulty there.
Right now, we do not have an official. We had talked about like if you win a regional festival, that's your prelim, like you're in, and it would be a feeder thing. We do not have anything like that right now. Yeah.
Okay. I just I think the IRCs are amazing, but I hope that they're not working against the IJA championships.
Also, yeah, I mean, that's part of why this hasn't moved forward, is that none of us are really sure if that's what we want it to be. I, as an American, I selfishly love having people fly in from all over and compete, where I get to meet them and see them and watch them practice in the gym for a week. And often they're more than one competitor from some regions. So right now it's the IGA competitions. If you compete, you're competing as yourself or your team. You are not competing on behalf of your country. You are not competing as, and in fact, this came up a few years ago when the International Olympic Committee stopped letting Russians compete on behalf of Russia. And we followed that, and we had a very serious decision about it. And we said, yes, we were allowing Russians to compete, should any apply, because they were representing themselves and not their country. So we were following Olympic IOC protocol for that. That may change. I mean, not the Russian thing, but how we do the feeders and how we work with the IRC may change in the future. I think we'd all love to see more jugglers from more countries come and compete at IJA right now, while it's completely open to anybody. So, do we have, NeilFred, do you have other questions from the chat?
No.
Anybody else want to give us a question? Okay. Well, you have our email. You are welcome to contact us at any time. And thanks for coming. So, all right.